So this is Giovanni, and this is the first time we've done this, and the principal doesn't even know we're doing it, i.e. Jamie's the principal. But we are going to let Kelly actually introduce our guest this week, and it's Megan, who she works very closely with. And when I told her we were doing it, she's like, "Oh, can I write the intro?" And I was like, "Even just record it." So thank you for joining us. You were actually one of our first guests. I'm so excited to have you back, and especially this guest role, introducing someone that I know you love and care for.
Excited to be here. I feel like I probably should have just recorded this the minute that I thought of it because I was all hyped up, but here we are. We're going to get it done. Really excited to introduce y'all to, and I'm saying y'all because I'm hanging out with Giovanni here, but really excited to introduce y'all to Meagan Slavin. When I first met Megan, I've always been a confident person, but when I met her, I just immediately wanted to continue to be around her because she just encourages you to be yourself in everything that you do. And when I met her, I mean, this was years ago. I was earlier on in my career, and I was coming out of this corporate design world where you always dressed one up on your clients. We always had to look very professional. We were very buttoned up. It was a little stiff, if I'm being honest. And so meeting Megan and starting to work with her as we transitioned into this co-working world, it was a breath of fresh air. And she really encouraged me to just be me, right? You can still be professional and be yourself. And so I was so thankful and still am thankful to have Megan in my life. So here she is, Meagan Slavin, Chief Operating Officer. It says a lot, but it also does not say enough. Megan halts her day for her team. She even halted an afternoon for me just last week to recognize and reflect where we've been, where we want to go, and how the heck do we get there? She comes from a family that has built their lives around entrepreneurship, and she carries that scrappiness and ingenuity with her in everything that she does. She believes, and she will tell you this, in the power of people, and she is fierce about her commitment to others. She gives credit to her team always. Little does she know that it's her fearlessness and inability to be anybody other than herself that is the thing that encourages all of us to rise up, show up as ourselves too, and get it done. Here you go, everybody. Here's Meagan Slavin.
Oh, you don't get off that easily. So your 3 favorite things about Megan and why?
Okay, Megan is, and I just told her this morning, is actually one of my favorite travel buddies because she can totally party, but she identifies a bedtime, an appropriate bedtime. So we all know what time the night ends, and I'm with her on that. And we also make sure that snack time and meals are incorporated into our game plan for anything that we do. So she's on my level with getting those things right so that you can keep going about your day. Okay, this is hard because I feel like I just put everything that I love into my intro. I love that she believes in community, but she doesn't just go around talking about it. You can see it in what she does. She takes the time out. She's constantly talking with her team. She's constantly interfacing with members. She's trying to kind of cross-connect people in everything that she does. The people that she comes into contact with in her life, she knows that connections come and go, or people go their different ways and their different paths, but she knows where and how to hold on to people or how to bring them back in. She's the best. I think that was 2, but that's what I got.
And you mentioned others. So this is awesome. Thank you so much for doing this, and can't wait to surprise her with it. So thank you, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thanks.
For heaven's sake, that was so lovely.
There you go.
What a wonderful surprise. Oh my gosh.
Can we recruit Kelly away and have her do all of our intros? Wow.
What an ego boost. My goodness.
It was funny because when I was talking to her last week, I told her that I had reached out to you, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I would love to write her intro. Can I?" And I was like, "Sure." And so she sent me a write-up, and I said, "You know what? This is not the same. You have to do it." And so I basically said, "Let's have a call tomorrow morning." And we did it this morning. So I don't think there was a better way to introduce you. So here we are.
Well, thanks, y'all.
Okay. Well, since we had a personal start, let's kick off with Okay, 25 North is 10 years old now.
Yes, 10 years.
Okay, tell us the Genesis story.
Wow. Okay. So let's see. So Mara Hauser, as most of she is my partner. She started 25 North from an idea from Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program. So she was in an interior design field, is still in that, of course, which is where Kelly comes from. Started Workplace Studio around the same time. Her business model was changing due to client shifting, and then she needed to kind of do a pivot in her life, in her career. Jumped into Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business. Came out of it with the idea of co-working in the suburbs. Met me pretty closely after that. So when she got started, she started focus groups, started an advisory board, and someone on our advisory board knew of me. I just knew of him in town. He owned one of our local grocery stores, and he just tracked me down, and we were introduced, and it became love at first sight, certainly. So
I'm going to use that term.
it's very, you know, Mara and I, it's a little hard to describe it any other way. It was very obvious that we balanced each other out in all ways. I was at a point in my life, in my career, where I was ready to do something different, and I jumped in. So we wrapped up the business plan, started finishing our first capital round, and got that going. First capital round was friends and family. And so I was with her for a few months, and my family decided to finish the capital round. So then Mara and I became partners officially. And then, rest is history, essentially. So that's we started in Geneva, Illinois. That was our first location. Second location was Arlington Heights. Then we moved down to Texas. Started from there. So, suburbs. So second tier markets, people had no idea what co-working was 10 years ago in Geneva, Illinois, and we had to do a lot of educating. So
I love how passionate you are about what you get to do. Not only the people, but the things that come with the people, right? And so, I mean, you guys just last week closed one of your first locations, and I was texting with you, and you're like, I didn't wear mascara today, or I think you said I wore waterproof mascara because you're so passionate about it. I saw the pictures of you preparing to move on from that space, and you want to talk about what that felt like and why it moved you so much?
yeah, so obviously 10 years ago, co-working was a very different space. That space did not fit our business model any longer. That was a very profitable space for us for a very long time. And long story short, the landlord decided to take back about our space there. And once that moved back into his hands, our whole business model really shifted. So he took quite a lot of offices, a lot of larger clients with him during that time. So that was really tough, and it was just way too small. So our focus right now is 25,000 square foot spaces, and that's a 10,000 square foot space. And it was just something that didn't work for our model. I think 10,000 square foot spaces can work, but we have a different way of doing things. And it's fun that Kelly was the one who introduced me, because that space felt like Kelly and my space. So that was Kelly's first space that she did all of the corporate design for, start to finish. I filled all those offices. I was the one still giving tours at that time, and that space really felt like home. So that was a tough one to walk away from. So that was a personal space for sure.
There you go, Jamie. I was talking to Jamie about it. She goes, "Why? That wasn't their first space. So why was it so touching for her?" And I was like, "There's a reason behind it. I know what it is."
Well, and when you're cleaning out the drawers of a 10-year-old space, you're finding old business cards of people who, you were their first boss, right? And you got to teach them the ins and outs of business. And that's where it gets me. So when I everything that you've built. And I love people. I love my people. I love showing up for people. And there's nothing more than I love than getting someone green right out of college, getting to be their first boss and teaching them how the corporate world works and what their values are and how to hold their boundaries. And
Wait, the corporate world, according to.
No, Nate, look at her bookshelf behind your right shoulder. She's closer to you than she is to me.
No, I thought you were an 8.
I did the test, Gio, and I keep coming back an 8, which I'm not sure. So you'll have to ask Sari. Sari is
She's a designer. That's why she's got we can talk about her life before 25 North. But I think her fierce, like, loyalty to her team, like, go to war over something she's passionate about. And I think some of the things Kelly wrote in her love note was about, like, sort of challenging the norms. Show up as yourself.
Yeah.
For better or worse. Dan.
I would love to see that report or have a conversation with Sari about it, because I see her as a 7 with an 8 wing, right? I think that she is passionate and fun loving and cares about people. Do I think that 8 and does that mama bear come out? Right. Absolutely. Right. Especially when you challenge her people and everything. I've seen it with a few people where she's like, I cannot stand him and I'll never be able to stand him. And I'm like, okay. I don't want to be on that side of things. But yeah, no, I think it's regardless of what you are. I mean, you're awesome. Right. And I think that's what people love about you is how much you care for people. Right. And I've heard you talk about your recruiting and you're like, we can't keep going back to that same place and recruiting people, but they're always so good. And get to see, and at this point, Jamie's got to see more of those interactions with you and your team than I have, but it's just been so fun to watch. And then just your interactions with your clients, right? I think that's a cool part that I'd love to run into and jump into right now is kind of what is it that you love about those interactions as you start working with a new client or new landlord, a new consulting assignment, all those things that really drives you? I mean, what is it that you love about it?
Well, I think it's really important. So we primarily do management agreements. That's what we've been doing for years. And that is a marriage at the end of the day, right? So you really need to know who you're getting into business with, what their why is. And we have gotten into partnerships that have been really hard, right? Have been really taxing. We've learned a lot of lessons along the way. And Mara will be the first one to say this, that we need to trust our gut more on who people are and how they show up. And I have always had a very good read on people. And I think everyone can pretend like they want to come to the table with a certain idea or vision, but at the end of the day, do they trust you and your expertise of what you have to bring to the table? And in a management agreement, there's a lot of trust that has to be given from the landlord. They have to really understand who you are, what your work ethic is, and what the product is that you're going to deliver. And the data is coming for co-working, but at the end of the day, it's very difficult to give someone a black and white map. And these landlords want to know exactly what's going on. So we give ranges, we give the worst case, the best case, everything in between. We give them testimonials and things like that. But I think it's really important to pick somebody who understands who you are and say, hey, I like this idea, but I know that you're going to do a really good job of it and bring me along, and I'm not going to hover over you, micromanage you, want to talk to you multiple times a day, because that's going to be really suffocating. And I think it's hard to not have that trust in a relationship like that.
What are your favorite things about a management agreement?
Well, I think it allows us to grow without having to answer to a board of people. Mara and I own our company outright. We don't have capital. We don't have a giant list of partners who have equity in the company. So that's something that I like. COVID was really hard for a lot of people, but those other partners behind the scenes really steered their ship, and they had to cut people because of that. And I think that we were able to grow significantly after COVID because we were still in control. So that's what I like the most, certainly. I think that, again, you have to find the right people in order, and you can get yourselves into certain buildings that maybe you couldn't have done on your own with a lease or ownership. And we're in some really incredible properties. And I think that would have only been an opportunity for us if we were in a management agreement. And you need to get, and you are usually open, that opens the doors to a lot of other properties who want to diversify their property, bring community and vivaciousness to their whole property there. So I think that's something that we get to offer, and that's really exciting to do for the landlord.
That the answer you're looking for, Jane? Are you going to dig there?
I can dig if you want me to dig.
I mean, I think to that, I jump in. And obviously, I've been working with y'all closely, and we looked at some spaces, and there's new challenges on these management deals that didn't exist before, right? Everything from the financial market to the cost of construction to, unfortunately, having to tell a story of why some of these spaces have failed in other markets or brands that have struggled. And so kind of how are you facing those challenges and explaining those conversations in a way that has had to shift and change based off of those things?
Sharing the or sharing about the buildings that
Just
have
the
failed.
story in general, right? Because we have to share as to why these spaces are failing or why people should continue doing these deals. Because we're trying to give a comfort level.
Right. Well, I think we have been very open on what everyone's story is. So why you'll see certain brands growing at a lightning speed. Okay, well, what that means behind the scenes, right? Why you see brands growing a little bit slower, what that could possibly mean. And then we go into detail about why our friends or ourselves have decided to close different locations. Not all closings should be looked at as a failure. 2 of the locations that we've closed over the years it was all part of the plan. So it was always going to be a short-term agreement that the landlord said, hey, help us get this started for a few years here. And then we want it back at some point. So we made safe holds for ourselves in the agreement, and we didn't grow on purpose in that region over there in Alexandria. So that's something that was very important to us. And I think making sure that everyone understands. And then also, we have huge success stories about when our landlords have gotten their buildings acquired, the different levels of increases there that they were able to get on their properties because we were there in the community that we created and because of the other businesses that have now opened in the same property or around. So having that under your belt of this guy over here made a lot of money and we had something to do with that. So I think, like I said previously, the data is difficult to really put on paper, and you just need to try to get in front of the actual banks or the actual lenders to have those conversations. And I think that what we are coming up against is there's 2 to 3 messengers in between the actual people who are giving the money. And I wish that we had an actual direct line of conversation with those people so we could be the ones to have those conversations and really give the pitch and make that understood, because so much gets lost in translation, and then they'll do quick Google searches on things and then they'll make their own assumptions. And I think that gets kind of down a rabbit hole. So that's been hard, certainly.
Do you think management agreements are getting harder or easier? And are you committed to that model?
I think they're getting harder. We are semi-committed. So we are certainly trying to open up more of them. However, we have had 2 management agreements that have been transitioned to a lease, which was actually a very good model for us. And open that. So that's been a very successful model for us and for our partners. So we have been pitching that as well, which I think kind of relates to the previous question, to kind of making people feel comfortable about that. However, we have been exploring a lot of different things. So right now we're thinking about maybe doing a few different acquisitions of a few different properties in our area that makes sense. We are very focused on going in the right space geographically, but also that fits our business model. We have so many people in our markets that have these smaller floor plate properties that are hounding Mara and I to come to their buildings. So we're like, okay, so how do we make 6,000 square foot
Yeah.
profitable? So this self-serve model, this is something that we have significantly had conversations about, had done significant budgeting and forecasting for. So this is actually something that we're working on a property right now, working through LOI stages in the Chicago area. So that will be our first one. I would like to do 3 or 4 at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's something that's going to be a little bit different.
Like spin up a
So-
little network.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's something that we've been thinking about. And then that will be, I mean, you can kind of call it a management agreement. It's more hybrid, I would
Mhm.
say. It's a little bit of a hybrid situation there. And then, of course, we're okay with leases if it makes sense and the property makes sense.
You
But
get a good deal negotiated.
ex-
Okay, who gets more energized by not really a pivot, but you guys are trying to fix the industry changes, right? We had a pandemic, like the environment has just shifted. Like you or Mara gets energized by like, okay, what now? Like, how do we think about this differently, or how do we shift a little bit based on what's happening in the macro environment?
let's see. So Mara and I have such different roles, right? So I think that's something that it's great because it's
Yeah.
a really good one. So a lot of the conversations that we have will be Mara will come to the table and she will have all of these ideas wanting to do all of these different things and directions. And then I'm usually the one that's coming to the table with like, great, let's maybe pick. So
Real life, Mara.
let's narrow it down perhaps. So it's also, okay, what fits our path? And so much has changed. So we do our 10-year, 3-year, 1-year goals. And I mean, how many times have we redone our 10-year goals, right? I think that's something that's been very complicated for us.
Yeah.
Mo-
I don't even, I mean, just stop.
Right.
No, I mean, no, it's good to think long term, but it's hard in an industry that's really evolving. Yeah.
No, certainly. And so, yeah, I mean, I think we as a team in general pivot very well. And I think that's something that we have considered certain deals over the years that would totally change the whole trajectory of the company. And our team gets on board with that. And Mara and I get on board with that very quickly with each other. Now, we are very close. We're essentially each other's family. So we have very open and honest conversations just like sisters would. So I think that's something that we're lucky to have. But also we can throw away the business professionalism as well and be very honest about, I don't think this could work. I don't care what you say in this situation. And then we can move it back into a more productive
Mhm.
as well. And I think because we can have those open and honest conversations about where we're at, where we both sit, the different opinion and perspective that we both come to it as a company too, because I mean, like I said, we're in totally different silos in the company. I am still very involved in our day-to-day. I'm very ingrained with our team, and Mara is much more removed. So I think it's having those different perspectives are helpful. But it's funny, we get very, kind of circling back there, we get very excited, I guess I would say, in our different ways. But it's also like, okay, roll up our sleeves and get ready to grind it out. So
By the way, her Enneagram 8 came out there where she's like, I don't care what you say.
Yeah.
This is how I, and very much does exist. But I think that's the beauty of having a good partnership and friendship, right? Is where you can take positions like that and know that they're not with malice or disrespect or anything else. And so, I mean, anyone that knows me knows that's kind of how I operate, is let's just get it all on the table and figure out where we go from here. And just because we don't agree doesn't mean I don't love you and respect you. And care for you. We just look at things differently, and that's okay.
Certainly. And I think that's why Mara and my partnership has worked so well over the years, is because we respect each other when either of us get into moments like that. And we
Yeah.
know it's coming from a place of intelligence and passion. And we really hold each other accountable in situations like that.
Well, I think that's what I love about your partnership is not only do y'all have different skill sets, but y'all are in different seasons of your life, right? I mean, Laura's out there planning weddings and hanging out on sailboats in Lake Michigan, and you're playing with your nieces and nephews, right? And I think that's the interesting part. And so it's just y'all look at different perspectives of life. Speaking of perspectives, I love keeping up and seeing pictures of you and Chris traveling the world and just having so much fun. And so Chris is Megan's husband, and he and I've had some great conversations, and we see eye to eye on a lot of things. But what does Chris mean to you?
Wow.
So Chris is, you're going to get me all emotional now. So Chris is certainly one of the most supportive humans that I have in my life. And I could pitch anything and talk to him about anything, and he would go to the ends of the world to figure out how to make it happen. And I'm very confident that you are only as successful as the people in your life allow you to be. And the second I met Chris, he has picked me up and he has raised me and to make sure that I can reach everything that I want to reach. And he has never made me feel like I have worked too much, that I'm not home enough, that I should be doing something differently. And like, look, this is not an easy business to be in for any of us, right? And it's not like all the times have been good in business. And we talk it out, and he just is so confident constantly, even when I'm not confident in myself in those days. And yeah, he's everything for sure. I am very lucky with him for sure. And he keeps a clean house, which I like to laugh about with my friends, because all my friends complain about how messy their husband is. And
Well, the hashtag, his hashtag on Instagram is Team No Chill.
he went to a military high school, so he is a organized guy, and I am ridiculously grateful for that. So
I'll tell you, I've only interacted with him and y'all in work settings, if you will, even when it's just social and personal as friends. But the sign of a confident man is when he can sit back and not have to be the center of attention, and he totally lets you shine in those moments, right? And he doesn't have to be seen or heard, but you know he's there, and he engages and has conversation as necessary, but he doesn't try to take over in those settings. And so that's how I know how confident he is and how much he loves and cares about you and respects you. And so it's really beautiful to watch because I don't see it often.
yeah, thanks.
I agree. I think it's really unique. It's pretty incredible. It's beautiful.
And if you're listening to this, Chris, don't let it go to your head. I love you.
I'm pretty sure he can hear you. I think he's downstairs. And
Jamie, go for it. Yeah, I got the emotional stuff out. You go back to business.
Okay. Let's talk about WeWork, because it's a hot topic these days. You guys you're avid Yardi users. Give us your hot take on the Yardi investment, and what do you think will happen to WeWork in the next couple of years?
yeah. Oh, geez. I mean, I think I have a lot of respect for Yardi. I think Yardi saw where that was headed with WeWork and didn't want to have a downfall in the co-working industry. And I think they really believed that WeWork has a serious representation of the co-working industry, no matter what your views on WeWork or not. If WeWork does well, we do well. That's essentially it. We had to have a lot of conversations to our partners and our landlords when quote unquote shit hit the fan with WeWork, and we need to make sure that they were really educated on why we were different, why this really made no difference to us, especially in our markets as well. And we really don't compete with WeWork. But because that was in the news, I mean, that was a hardship on us. I mean, I am confident that we lost a deal because of that. And I think that's something that was huge. So I think Yardi saw the writing on the wall there and wanted to jump in there to figure out how to save a sinking ship. And I don't have a ton of confidence in kind of where that's headed. I'm not exactly up to speed on if Adam is going to be getting back involved or kind of what's going on there.
I don't think
But,
so.
I didn't think so either, but I think there's kind of something worse going on there. And I mean, it's like if WeWork just gets stabilized in some capacity, I think that would be good for
It's a
us.
positive. Yeah.
And it will. Look, I've been having conversation with Yardi leadership and then the PR team at WeWork trying to figure out from a GWA perspective, how is there more involvement and just industry overall. And it's so interesting. And this has been my position from the very beginning. It's the reason Yardi and Mr. Yardi is so good for WeWork and the industry overall is because he's the antithesis of Adam Newman, right? And so even with who they've brought in as a CEO, right? They've brought in a 40-year veteran of the real estate industry, right? Is he the right person? I don't know, right? I haven't had a conversation with him, but it's funny when I talk to the PR team, I'm like, why did bringing in a 40-year-old white, ultimately there's been this idea and perception that people have of people that come from that background that they don't understand. They're not the right fit. They challenge everything. And so I'm eager to have that conversation with the WeWork team, with Yardi, and figure out, okay, why did you pick this person, right? Why did you pick someone that has a different perception, right? And obviously they were very thoughtful in who they chose and why they chose him. And I think it's good for the industry as a whole, right? Because someone coming out of that kind of background from a real estate service provider like Cushman really helps see it from a different eye, because we have struggled with getting people in those larger service providers engaged and involved in our industry, right? Even AY, who I came from, who's on the smaller side and who we were driving to generate real fees, we struggled with, right? And so hopefully bringing in someone that has a different view can help out and drive some of that additional change and buy-in from larger service providers and corporate entities.
I was
saw
just thinking
light
back
bulb.
to Megan's role on team, and you've been doing this for 10 years. I think you could probably write a book. Maybe that's on the list about management, leadership. Yeah, I got a wink. So maybe. Tell me something that's working with your team today that you're excited about.
I could talk about my team for
Yes, we could go on for hours.
my team shows up mentally, physically, and emotionally. And I think it's something that you don't really see too often. We have this collaborative environment where everyone has a job description to a point, but then once someone starts, we start molding and evolving it based on their passions, their strengths, and their skills. And then everyone works for every location, essentially, is kind of what this turns into. And we have these experts or these specialized categories that people are touching in, and it's just a different level of support. And then it's able to really grow someone who's green in their career into something that they're really interested in. We do education stipends as well to make sure that people can feel enriched in what they're really passionate about. But our team is a very all hands on deck with solving someone's problem that really has nothing to do with their own location. And we found that really has created a lot of support, but also just in a way where I feel like people can build off of each other. And it's not in a competitive nature. And I think this is something that really worried me at first when we would start to like, okay, someone's jumping into someone else's role or location, and I don't want them to feel like they're getting like taken over, or like how do we get people excited about things or growing, but not that like they're going to need to be in jeopardy that they're going to lose their job. And there's just so much growth for anything. And once we just started to say yes to people's ideas and just we just saw what happened, it just really started to flourish within the company. And so we spoke about Sari earlier. Something that we've done for years in the company is we'll need to hire someone. We'll bring someone in for an interview, and maybe this person really isn't the fit for like the actual job, but you can just tell when they walk in the door that this is someone that we need to figure out how to bring on to the company. So we just made up a role for Sari, and we've done that quite a few times over the years. Or we'll bring someone on for a certain role, and then we'll immediately start to figure out, okay, we can tell that you're bored here. What are we going to do with you? Right? Let's figure out how you can take a certain software or a certain process and totally make it your own, and then just start to grow there. And we've just seen a huge ROI on that. So we have had people just feel connected, right? People feel like they can make a footprint on the company and that they have a legacy here when they decide to leave at some point. And that's really special. We've had, I believe it's like 5 or 6 of our team members over the years have relocated to other locations, to open up locations or move or grow in some way. There was a guy who we hired in Alexandria who we just loved. It was clear that was someone who was going to be a huge impact on our company, and that was the location that was going to close soon. And we didn't realize that the timeline was getting moved up there. And this guy was only with us for 60 days. And he
Remember, I had cupcakes with him right after he'd started.
And he moved to Waco. And we were like, okay, hear us out. We're closing, but we want you to come with us. And he moved. He just moved. That just happened to us so many different times. And I think once people feel connected to a company that is going to pour into them and that cares really a lot about them, about the whole person. And this is such like a sexy thing that people are talking about, right? We care about the whole person. We care about your wellness. And of course, I think people have a good intention on that, but was reading something about in the Harvard Business Review about, can't remember exactly what it was calling about, but almost like culture washing or wellness washing or something like that, where it's almost like people are like, okay,
I think wellness washing is a great term. Yeah.
People care about this now. Well, we're going to pretend to also care about it. And I think they lightly care about it, but it's this whole walking the same walk that you're trying to like go through here. So anyway, I think that's something that we've done really well is we hire the person and we fit the job around it. And then we do everything we can. If there's someone who's going to make a huge impact in our company, we figure out a way to keep them. And we had to get really creative over the years to make it work. But we have eager people who are excited to learn and figure out what they want to do. And we've had people in our company who have no interest in being with us forever, but they're just here and learning their skills, and we figure out and we help them job search too, right? So it's like, we know that you're not going to be here, but we care about you as a human and what's next.
Well, I mean, it's taking care of the mind, body, and spirit, right? And that's such a big part is you guys allow for people to be who they are, which in turn allows for them to serve the team best. And I think that's the great conversation we had with Sari is really understanding where your team fits in where, right? Like y'all have got a very clear understanding of who's got what skill sets and traits and where to call people in, right? Who's better to deal with conflict than somebody else, right? And who's better to deal with certain situations that arise, and knowing that makes such a big difference in strengthening the whole team, right?
Yeah, we've recently restructured everyone's day so they have slower mornings. So now everyone is only allowed to have meetings certain hours of the day, so they can open up the space at a leisurely pace, have coffee with the members, walk around, check in, see how John's daughter's baseball game was yesterday. like things like that. That makes a huge difference. And what we figured out that what we were starting to shift into was everything was streamlined and processed and everything was faster and better and smarter. And that's fine. And that's, of course, how we have to grow. But we were really getting away from why people were here and why they signed up for this in the very beginning. When I was really early in my career, I was working with someone from the SBDC and I was working with a job description. She was helping me craft this. This was when it was just me, right? I was doing this by myself. I didn't have a marketing team or anybody. I was like writing this with this consultant. And I had this craft and we needed to do all of these things. And she's like, one of my clients is an owner of an ice cream shop. And she has a similar job description or the issues with this job description that you are having. So when she was writing this job description, she was like, okay, you have to be here at this time and you have to do this and you have to make sure that the cash register is this and the process and the ordering and the whatever and the this. And it was like this giant long list of things that had to be perfect with this role. And she said, I told her, let's not forget, it's just ice cream. And I think I will never forget that because people want to be there for the community. They want to be there because it's a cool job. It's a cool place to work. And they're just happy to come into work in the morning and have their coffee with some cool people and chat with them. Of course, there's other things that they have to do, but let's not get away from that because we're so concerned about getting our sales report dashboard out at a certain time. Of course, that's important, but every single time that you add more things on their list, it's so much noise. And I think they get away from the main passion where they really need to focus on. And you're going to be more successful because of that. If they're enjoying their job, they're going to be working harder and they're going to be increasing your business. So it's really important.
You got anything else? So I got something else.
You jump in.
But mine's the ending.
Okay. That's fine. Let's do it.
All right. Well, ask her one more question.
Oh. Can I ask one of your usual questions?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. You have hobbies, and I love it when we have guests that have hobbies. Tell us what you do for fun, your other passions outside of coworking.
Let's see. I love to garden. My husband and my father built me this really cool, fancy garden house so I get to grow all of my tomatoes and peppers in there. So that's been wonderful. I paint and draw frequently. That's something that I really love to do. I love to travel. And most of all, I love to be an auntie. So my biggest hobby, my biggest passion is hanging out with my nephews, certainly.
And your sister lives right down the road, 5 minutes away.
Lives 3 minutes away.
3 minutes. Excellent. Okay.
So what are you looking off screen? What are you looking at?
I'm looking at my husband who can't for some reason.
Who's about to get on the screen and he's going to tell you. So Chris, get on the screen and tell us the things that you love about Megan.
Hi, everybody.
Chris?
Hey, how are you?
God, you're good looking.
She is, yeah. It's a good looking couple right there.
Look at us go.
Well, for heaven's sake.
All right. And I had about 15 seconds to throw this together.
That's the way it works.
Hi. All right.
What was the question? Or
Things that you love about Megan.
things that I love about Megan. Wow. I don't know. I love her passion for everything she does. She does everything 100%, which is inspiring to see. She cares deeply about other people and she keeps me honest. She keeps everybody honest, which is refreshing in this world. She's a great leader. Her team means everything to her, and she just brings the best out of everybody, including me and including everybody that she interacts with. So she's pretty great. I got lucky, that's for sure.
Can't beat that. Appreciate you jumping in with us, Megan. Chris, thanks for the quick guest appearance. And I don't think we can end it any better than that, Jamie.
I think you did it, Gio.